Hello, bonjour, welcome to a bonus 42 Rugby Weekly pod, coming to you on the road, live from Paris, near Les Halles, Murray, Kinsella. Where exactly are we actually?
Well, I actually did the podcast here yesterday as well. It turned out to be such a friendly spot that we're back. That is the Église Saint-Eustache behind us. And Les Halles is a really big metro station, obviously all the trams coming through here, so it's kind of in the thick of it, but it's a beautiful day in Paris. Like, there's nowhere like this when the sun is out and all the beautiful buildings around, and we're here outside a nice little cafe to talk about a bit of rugby. It's good to have you on board. How was the trip over?
Early, but interesting. Yeah, I was on the early flight into Beauvais this morning, and it was one of the interesting things about this week, just having even the Thursday game. I wasn't sure what kind of flight I was going to be getting on this morning, but it was typical Ireland match week. Loads of Irish rugby fans, lots of Connacht jerseys, interestingly, a couple of Munster jerseys. And then, I got into the middle of Paris about an hour ago, so I'm only settling in. But I've already seen, I think, 2 Antoine Dupont billboards, so you're getting a little hint already that there's something big coming. You've been on the ground a couple of days. Have you had a chance to get a proper sense of what the mood is like around Paris for this game?
Well, it's good to hear the Irish fans landing in, because obviously with the Thursday night, you're like, can people get as much time off work? And that's good to hear. Of course the Irish fans were going to turn up, and it's going to be an amazing occasion. Yeah, the build up in Paris, as always with a Six Nations game, unless you look in the right place, the city kind of goes on with its life and doesn't worry about a rugby game. But you're right, there are more and more billboards and posters, and rugby at the kind of international level has really grown here, and they're talking about really competing with football. Now I think that's another level of superstardom with Kylian Mbappe. I mean, his face is everywhere. But it's a huge spectator sport. The TV audiences, I think, are going to be gigantic, because there's nothing else to do on a Thursday night. And they've moved it because of the Winter Olympics opening ceremony on Friday, and that's probably actually getting a bit more attention. Like, L'Équipe had a big supplement going into all the different events during the week, and a lot of the media seems to be focused around that. But yeah, it's been interesting seeing the French take on where Ireland are. There's definitely great confidence here that France are going to do something similar to last year in Dublin. But there's respect there as well, I think. You know, it's not a completely foregone conclusion, and there's doubts about France, actually. They're like, it's a French way of life to kind of doubt things, and France aren't flawless, but they're the reigning champions, and yet November wasn't very pleasing for them. So yeah, it's been lovely to be in the thick of it. It's like London, you can kind of go through your day without realising there's a rugby game on here, but tomorrow and tomorrow night it is going to be front and centre.
Just on the Winter Olympics, I was trying to do my research on the way over. It's not a big deal in Ireland, really, so that's why a lot of people are confused about this Thursday match. We're sending 4 athletes to the Winter Olympics. France this year are sending a record 161, so it's a big story here, hence your Thursday match.
We do have one colleague. Sinead O'Carroll is a big Winter Olympics fan, I think, and maybe our correspondent as well. I haven't engaged with that at all, but it's good to hear we have a few athletes, and that's the thing in France. There's so much competition. Like Leon Marchand, the swimmer, is one of the biggest superstars here, and they've got NBA stars, and they've got handball, and they've got all sorts of things. But right now Dupont really is the man, and again his return has captured the imagination. I can only imagine the emotion for him and for the crowd when he gets back on the pitch. He's the man, he's the leader, he's the captain, he's the best player in the world, so that's another spectacle that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, so much excitement about having Dupont back, and you kind of touched on it there as well. There's so much expectation on this French team, and even a little bit of pressure. We're kind of probably guilty of focusing so much on Ireland in the build up to these games, and it's the same here. You look through the French papers, there's not too much on Ireland. It's very France, but there is expectation this year. Fabien Galtier has made some bold calls with his squad. He's left out some big names, and they won a Grand Slam. They won a Six Nations last year. They think they can do more, and that's the expectation this year. It's Grand Slam or bust, really, isn't it?
Yeah, the World Cup now is the big thing for them, 2027. That seems to be what they're talking about a lot now. It reminds me of Ireland building up to that 2023 tournament, actually. From a good way out, they obviously flagged that they wanted to win it, but they were vocal about it, and France seemed to be going down that track. Even that aim of a Grand Slam is towards World Cup, and Thomas Ramos spoke about it this week, making people fear them in the way South Africa do, and they learned a lot from that game in November. So yeah, they've got their own agenda, and Ireland are not really part of that story. It's just a chance for them to double down on what they did last year. But I love coming here. We're so blessed. Like, look where we are, and we're so privileged in Irish rugby to have this, to have the regular opportunity to come to Paris. 2024 was in Marseille. You were there, and that was cool, and it's an amazing stadium. But Paris is particularly amazing. And getting out to Stade de France again this morning, I went out to the captain's run, and Caelan Doris came into the press conference room. It's real slick, kind of high tech in there, and he was like, "Wow, this is cool," not having been in there as a captain before. And I was kind of saying it was an amazing scene in 2018 because everyone had just scrambled to rewrite their match report. It was chaos. Johnny Sexton hit that drop goal, and we were all still trying to get our heads straight for a media conference. So yeah, it was nice memories this morning. And then he was talking about all the guys who are getting opportunities now, and what an iconic venue. Just walking out there for the captain's run with no one in the stadium, it's just a little bit breathtaking. It's a really special venue, and as I say, special city. I was in Montmartre last night with some of the other media crew, and we had a lovely meal, of course, in Paris, and these trips are just special.
They are special. We actually stayed not too far from here during the 2023 World Cup, the apartment we had up on the roof. I walked by it just to have a little moment and look at it there. And one thing about Paris that always gets me is it always makes me feel underdressed. The people here make such an effort.
They're glamorous.
They are glamorous, yeah. They know how to live. Yeah, you were out with Caelan Doris earlier this morning. What was he talking about? I'm going to assume, I haven't read your piece yet, apologies. I'm going to assume Keane Prendergast came up, and I'm going to assume the 10s came up.
They did. It was actually really interesting with Sam Prendergast. It was the French journalists who were going down that line with it. Again, Johnny Sexton was mentioned when Doris was asked about it, and I actually got a really good answer out of Doris because it was someone new, I think, and from a different angle asking it. The French journalist said, we know that Sam Prendergast has had a lot of criticism and he's trying to fill Johnny Sexton's shoes. How is he doing? And Doris spoke really well about it. He said, I see him every day in Leinster and I see him every day with Ireland. He's working on his defence and it's getting better. But he said, this guy can do things that other people can't do. And it was a good reminder of that. I mean, what an exciting talent for Irish rugby. And again, this stage for him. He's had some big games. Obviously, he played last year against France on a day it didn't go well for Ireland collectively and him as a game leader and how they managed the flow of that game. But it just is another step up. I remember 2022 when Ireland lost here, obviously. Afterwards, they were fairly honest in saying they were kind of overawed by the occasion. They hadn't quite realised, and Doris mentioned it again today, how loud it is. Even before the game, when you're coming out to warm up, you're struggling to hear each other because the French fans are so vocal from early doors. So that's a magnificent chance for Sam Prendergast, and I hope he's able to show that ability, that passing range, the kicking, the attacking kicking, and be composed in the team, and as well as that, show improved defence. So yeah, strong words from Doris. He was really relaxed. It was probably the best press conference he's done in terms of giving thoughtful, focused answers, because you come to Friday and a lot of the guys have already moved into match day mode, yourself, and they're almost trying to get through the press conference, but he was very calm, and they've had a great time. They've had a great build-up, great training camp in Portugal, and a great training week by all accounts. They're in a new hotel out in La Défense, which is different for them, and they're happy out there. So the build-up has been great. If it wasn't that, you would be seriously worried, and I think a lot of people are still worried, but yeah, Doris was pretty calm and collected.
I had a bit of trepidation about this game, but the closer we get to Thursday night, there's a little bit more excitement creeping into it. I don't think Ireland are going to pull off a shock, but I'm just fascinated by the whole thing, and even just at this point out from a World Cup that the players are already definitely talking about and working towards. I think it's just such a fascinating. The next 2 years are going to be such a fascinating part of Andy Farrell's coaching career. He hasn't really had a full rebuild like this, in the sense of when he came in after Joe Schmidt, he still had a lot of the kind of older lieutenants there with him, and it was moving into, a new kind of journey, if you want to use that word, under Andy Farrell. But now this is very much his team. Like he's like, we're a long way moved on from the Joe Schmidt era team. There's questions around the team coming out in November. He's dealing with the loss of, like, we've had Sexton and Earls a couple of years ago, but I think now you're really noticing, like, Peter O'Mahony, Conor Murray, Cian Healy. I remember asking Farrell about this after the November window, and he said, you can't do anything about losing that experience. You have to give experience to these guys. And now we're going into a game in the Stade de France where it's a very different looking Ireland team. A lot of that is because of injury, but it's also younger, different players in there who have been kind of bubbling under the surface, who are coming through getting their shot. Even someone like Tommy O'Brien, who's not quite a new face as such, but a first Six Nations game. So just how they're gonna negotiate this championship into a challenging summer over the next 2 years, if if they can get back to the heights that they were at previously under Andy Farrell, it's going to be a remarkable job.
Sure would. They were playing some unbelievable rugby. I mean, the team, it is very different. And again, like chatting to the French journalists, they're kind of like, who's this? Or, wow, Stockdale's back. Or, you know, not that aware of Ciarán Prendergast or even Jeremy Loughman, even though he's not a young player, or Nick Timoney, you know, just because they haven't seen them and they haven't played at this level. And they're the question marks we have ahead of tomorrow. So it's been forced on them, really, you know. I mean, apart from Stockdale over Low, it's kind of just picking who we could, picking who was left, really. So though it's exciting, it's not really a big shift in policy from him, I don't think. It'll be really interesting to see if guys start coming back from injury, and Ireland have been playing well, what will happen then? Like, that's the ideal scenario, that Ciarán Prendergast shoots the lights out, so that when Ryan Baird gets back, you have two guys ferociously competing for that 6 jersey. Similar at Lou said, that Loughman goes brilliantly and does a really good job in Aldegheri and comes back in as a really strong option, or Milne makes a massive impact off the bench. That's the chance for those guys. You're right, it is a huge opportunity, and especially in a game and a place like this to kind of stake a claim for World Cup. Absolutely. Some of these guys might miss out on a World Cup even being involved here. So yeah, the mission right now, I think, is just to get through this game, but I like the mindset they're trying to adopt. It's go and attack it, because everyone I know, most people I speak to back home, are worried about what could happen, and rightly so in some ways, because France, when they open up, they can shred you and they can build up scores. But Ireland are taking the approach of, let's not settle for that, surviving, let's actually thrive, let's attack it. They're all the messages, and we'll see if it makes a difference on the pitch. But I like that approach, and I don't think right now they're thinking, or he's thinking, too far down the road. It's get through this one, patch up what you've got, make sure you beat Italy at home, and then have a crack off England and see what happens after that.
From speaking to a couple of French journalists and speaking to Philippe Saint-André at the Six Nations launch last week, France have their own problems as well, but they're very much first world problems. Can Antoine Dupont and Mathieu Jalibert play together? They haven't played a huge amount of rugby together at France. They're two outstanding players. There is a bit of a question mark, I guess, around whether the two can work smoothly in tandem.
There is. I was actually talking to James Tracy and looking back on games they played together, and he was kind of saying, has there been one that's gone really well? They played together in the opening game of the World Cup, and it did go well. They beat New Zealand, and obviously in the quarter-final, and Dupont was amazing that day. Jalibert had some good moments and some bad. So yeah, it's still a question mark here around their game, but I think there's massive excitement about their selection. It's freshened up as well. Like, even Lenny Naushi on the bench is really exciting back row talent who we haven't seen a lot of. Adesogbe we've only had glimpses of really at international level, and he's been shooting the lights out for Poe when he's actually come back from injury. But there's an unknown around their side as well, and they've taken this big departure from Penno, Fiku and Aldrit for now anyway, and it has really come up a lot this week around whether that's the right decision, and the proof will be in the pudding if Ireland can put them under enough pressure to challenge that leadership element. They're also missing Winnie Antonio, which is a big blow, because he was supposed to retire. He had retired from international rugby, but Galtier begged him to come back because he was worried about his tight head depth and options, and now here they are without him unexpectedly at the last minute. And then Reggie Montan, who started in November, is there a doubt over him because he's gone back to the bench, and listen, he'll bring impact from there, but Aldegheri they've almost settled on as a safer option in their mind. So yeah, it's a little bit of a flux situation for the French as well. I thought Saint-André was really interesting actually to read his stuff. He doesn't seem too optimistic about Ireland's chance of an upset.
No, he doesn't at all. He's very worried about the scrum. It's interesting talking to get the French view on things. A lot of them, they keep pointing to the Champions Cup. A cast team went and beat Munster. Munster are in the Challenge Cup. We haven't seen this from Munster. That seems to be a reference point that they're kind of leaning on. But he was. It's the question marks we've been talking about here, I guess. We haven't solved out half. Who's that going to be? Is Sam Prendergast starts tomorrow? Will he be this starting out half by the time it comes to the end of the championship? The injuries at loose head, the discipline problems they had in November. It's a long list of things they need to get right if they're going to do something special tomorrow.
Doris was talking about that. He said, I gave away too many penalties in November, which is a pretty clear, blunt message. He said it's up to him and the other leaders to nail that part of the game and lead by example. Yeah, they got to nail a lot of things. They got to be close to a 10 on 10, 9 out of 10 performance, really, don't they? I mean, the set piece, for me, I keep coming back to it. Scrum, obviously that narrative has really built up, and it is a concern. And listen, you can seep momentum really massively in a rugby game when scrum penalties start going away from you. But Loughman's been solid recently, and France have had ups and downs with that, particularly in November.
But sorry, that's it. This French front five is not tight five, is not the Springboks tight five.
No, and it's a kind of fresh look as well. Olivon and Guillard is not a second row combination that has any experience together, and even in the front row, they're obviously far more familiar with Toulouse connections in Marchand and Aldegheri. But yeah, so they've got their own questions around that. I think line out in Maul is a massive strength for them. It'll be a huge part of the confidence they have in the game. They have the best line out in the world, and I've got the stats on it. They literally are the best line out in the world in terms of winning the ball, but also winning clean ball. And their Maul last year scored more Maul tries than anyone in the world, and won more penalties than anyone in the world. So Ireland know exactly what's coming there, and if they can do a job on that, it'll really deny the French momentum. But then, you can't switch off in transition because Dupont's back, and Dar spoke about it today. He compared him to one of the little fish who dart away when you try and touch them in the water. You think you have him, and then he's just gone. He said he specifically remembers 2023 when he came up the side of a breakdown and he thought he had him snared, and then he spun out and he beat 3 defenders and away he goes. So you've got that, you've got Jalibert's pace and chipping game, in attacking kicking game, and his connection with the other UBB backs, and then you've got Louis Bilberet just waiting in the wings, and he's lethal, and he's got a kicking game again himself. So it's all court, but it's at the same time as I'm saying that, it's not unbeatable. This France team aren't South Africa yet. They might become them, and maybe this will be another step towards it, but they're not there quite yet, and they haven't been there yet.
The best line out in the world, the best player in the world, maybe the best winger in the world, one of the best stadiums in the world, one of the best atmospheres in the world. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The best food in the world? I mean, it must. I'll be going home with gout at this stage. I've been really getting stuck in and enjoying it. My boulangerie addiction is out of control. Actually, I had 3 yesterday, 3 different pastries, and I'm planning to go and do something similar now. So yeah, they have the best of a lot of things. Best dress maybe as well. Best churches. they're going pretty well, and a pretty good rugby team. But I agree with your sentiment of excitement around it, and it's fun. It's a different Ireland team caused by injuries, and it's clear that they've faced this big uphill task. But it's fun to find out about people, and I wouldn't be surprised if a few of them, at least a few of these Irish players who are getting big chances, really take them and kick on. Ciarán Prendergast is one I think is built for this kind of level, and he's obviously in a Connacht team where it's hard to be a dominant figure all the time, but he's done really well for Ireland every time he's played. The same with Jacob Stockdale recently, and they have form and class, and in Stockdale's case it's not new to him, though it's been a while. He hasn't played Six Nations for 5 years. He knows he can do it at this level, and he's in flying form. So there are reasons I'm excited. I still think France are going to win, that's my gut feeling on it, but I think Ireland will give it a decent rattle. What's your last word on it?
I'd agree. I think Ireland are going to give it a decent rattle, but I don't see them pulling off a major shock. Ciarán Prendergast is the one I'm really interested in for the reasons you touch on there. He's been really impressive when he's had his shots with Ireland, really good in November, but it's a small sample size in terms of what we've seen from him at this level. He's playing in a Connacht team that's often struggling. He's playing Challenge Cup rugby. He's one of the players that French fans come into tomorrow thinking, who is this guy? We haven't seen much of him, but he does seem to have that mindset. I do expect him to kind of rise to the occasion. I'm fascinated to see how he goes, and similar with people like Stockdale who've been there and done that before. So yeah, if it's competitive and it's close, I'll be happy enough come late tomorrow night. What do the next 24 hours, 36 hours for you look like in Paris?
Crack out a bit of work now, get stuck into a piece on France and their threats, and preview the game, I guess, and get through all those last bits, and then try and get into another evening in Paris. It's got to be done, doesn't it?
It has to be done. 9:10 p.m. kickoff local time tomorrow as well, which is time for a lie-in.
There's no better place to kill a day than Paris.
It's not. One of the small perks of the job is the press pass gets you into lots of places for free around Paris. So whether it happens or not, I've got my slot booked for the Louvre in the morning, which I've never been to. So yeah, there's no shortage of things to do here. We will be back with you tomorrow night post game, very late, from the Stade de France, and then we are going to log on again on Friday morning, I think, to do a proper, more in-depth review. So until then, enjoy Well, I was going to say enjoy your weekend. I'm not used to these Thursday games. We will talk to you tomorrow night. Thanks for listening.